1. The Man in the Fog, Santa Fe, New Mexico. Officer Jake Laramie had seen some shit in his 10 years on the force. Bodies in dumpsters, cartel killings, tweakers losing their damn minds. But nothing ever rattled him quite like that night on Route 285. It was 2:34 a.m. when the call came in. An abandoned car sitting in the middle of the road, hazard lights blinking, engine still running, but no driver in sight. Jake pulled up behind it, headlights cutting through the thick desert fog. The car was a beat-up Chevy Malibu, old but not ancient. The driver's side door was wide open. Inside, he saw a half-eaten burger, a soda in the cup holder, and a cell phone face down on the passenger seat. The screen was cracked but still buzzing with missed calls. A wallet sat beside it. License said, Brian Hale, 27. Jake clicked on his radio. Dispatch, got an abandoned vehicle on 285. No driver. Gonna check the perimeter. A crackle then. Copy that, Laramie. Be careful out there. He stepped out, boots crunching against the cracked pavement. The desert was quiet, the kind of eerie silence that made your ears ring. A single coyote howled somewhere far away. That's when he saw him, a man, tall, thin, standing in the fog about 30 feet away, just past the edge of his high beams. Just standing. Jake's hand went to his holster. Sir, you okay? The man didn't move, didn't speak. Jake took a cautious step forward. Sir, I need you to... The man fucking disappeared. 1 second he was there, the next, gone. Like the fog swallowed him whole. A cold chill slithered up Jake's spine. He swung his flashlight around, scanning the area. Nothing but desert and low-lying mist. Then he heard it, breathing, right behind him. Jake spun, his heart slamming against his ribs. His gun was drawn before his brain even caught up. Nothing. But the car's engine suddenly revved, hard. Jake turned just in time to see the Chevy's headlights flicker and die. A second later, the whole car shook, like someone had slammed their fists against it. Jake didn't stick around to find out what the hell was going on. He jumped in his cruiser, radioed for backup, and floored it back toward town. They never found Brian Hale, never figured out why the car was abandoned or who the hell that man in the fog was. But Jake? He transferred out of night patrol the next week. 2. The Whispering Tape, Detroit, Michigan. Detective Marcus Reed had spent years working homicide. He thought he'd seen it all. Then he found the tape. It was buried in a box of evidence from an old case, a home invasion gone wrong. 2 people dead, 1 missing child. The whole thing stank of something fucked up, but they never got any real leads. Marcus found the VHS buried under crime scene photos, unlabeled except for 1 word scrawled in black marker. Listen. He frowned. Most security footage was digitized these days. Who the hell still used VHS? Curious, he dusted off an old player, shoved the tape in, and hit play. For a second, just static. Then, darkness. Then the basement. The grainy black and white footage showed a damp, moldy basement, the one from the crime scene. The camera moved shakily, like someone was holding it. Marcus leaned closer. There was no timestamp, no signs of an actual break-in, just a shot of a concrete wall. And then, whispering. Low, guttural, almost like a growl. Where is he? Marcus sat up straight. The hell? He rewound, played it again. Where is he? The voice wasn't right. It wasn't human. A chill crawled up his back as he turned up the volume. The whisper came again, clearer this time. Turn around, Marcus. He slammed the power button. The fucking tape had just said his name. His hands were sweating. He grabbed the case file, flipped through the notes, searching for any mention of the tape. Nothing. His phone buzzed. He flinched. Unknown number. He answered, throat dry. Reed. Silence. Then, that same whisper. Turn around, Marcus. He did. And for the first time in his life, Marcus screamed. The missing child's face was staring at him from the dark corner of his office, half-rotted, eyes hollow, mouth moving like it was still whispering. The case was closed the next morning, but Marcus? He took early retirement. 3. The Hitchhiker, I-95, South Carolina. Patrolman Andy Fletcher had been driving down I-95 for years. The night shift was routine, drunks, the occasional reckless driver, sometimes a wreck. But that night, he picked up a hitchhiker. It was around 3 a.m., just past mile marker 217. Rain had turned the road slick, and fog curled over the asphalt like ghostly fingers. That's when Andy spotted her. A young woman, maybe in her early 20s, standing on the shoulder. She wore a torn hoodie, jeans caked in mud. Her hair was soaked, sticking to her face, and she shivered violently. Andy slowed down, rolled down the passenger window. "Miss, you okay?" She didn't speak, just nodded and stepped closer. Andy sighed. Against his better judgment, he unlocked the door. "Hop in." She slid into the back seat, arms wrapped around herself. "You got a name?" he asked, checking her in the rearview mirror. A long pause, then, soft as a breath. "Claire." Andy kept driving. The longer he watched her in the mirror, the more off she seemed. Her skin was too pale, like she'd been out in the rain for days. Her clothes were damp, but not from fresh rain. It smelled like old water, like a lake or a riverbed. "You got family around here?" he tried again. Another pause, then, "He buried me." Andy nearly swerved off the road. "What?" Her eyes met his in the mirror, hollow, dark, dead. "He buried me, under the bridge. He's going to do it again." Andy slammed on the brakes, heart hammering. "What the hell are you talking about?" No answer. He turned around. The back seat was empty. Andy jumped out of the car, flashlight sweeping over the road. No sign of her. But the rain had softened the dirt near the bridge, and when he called for backup and started digging, they found her. The real Claire, buried shallow, wrists tied, gone for weeks. They caught the killer 2 days later. But Andy, he quit the force that month. The man in the closet, Chicago, Illinois, 911 calls, were routine for Officer Sam Torres. But not this one. It was 1:13 a.m. when the dispatcher's voice crackled in his radio. "Unit 17, we have a report of a possible intruder. Caller is a 6-year-old female. Address..." A kid calling 911? Shit. Sam arrived 10 minutes later. A quiet suburban house. The mother, frantic, met him at the door. "Lily won't stop crying," she said. "She keeps saying there's a man in her closet." Sam sighed. Another kid afraid of the dark. He'd seen it before. He knelt beside the little girl who was clutching a stuffed rabbit, eyes red from crying. "There's no man in your closet, sweetheart," he said gently. "But I can check for you, okay?" Lily didn't speak, just nodded. Sam walked into her room, turned on the light, and pulled open the closet door. Nothing. Just dolls, a pile of blankets, a few shoes. He sighed and was about to close it when he noticed something weird. The blankets were breathing. His gut tightened. Slowly, he reached out and yanked them back. Nothing. He exhaled, shaking his head. "Jesus, I need sleep." Then Lily screamed. Sam whirled around. Hey, it's okay, see? Nothing's here." The girl was pale, shaking. Tears ran down her face. "He's behind you." Sam's blood turned to ice. He turned, nothing. His skin crawled as he backed out of the room. He forced a smile at Lily. "See? No one's here." She didn't look convinced. When Sam checked his body cam footage later that night, he nearly threw up. Because for a split second, just as he turned his back to the closet, a hand was reaching out. And then, it was gone. 5. Don't answer the phone. Houston, Texas. Officer Denise Harper had been working dispatch for years. She thought she'd heard it all. Then she got the call. It came in at 2:46 a.m. No caller ID. She picked up. 911, what's your emergency? Static. A faint hiss. Then, a child's voice. Software. Trembling. Help me. Denise sat up straight. Sweetie, are you hurt? Where are you? Static. Then, barely above a whisper. He's coming. Denise's stomach clenched. Who's coming? Silence. She traced the call. The location popped up, and her heart nearly stopped. It came from a house that burned down 10 years ago. A house where a little boy died in the fire. Denise swallowed. What's your name, sweetie? Static. Then clearer this time. Ethan. She checked the old case file. Ethan Carter, 6 years old, died in his bedroom when the flames trapped him inside. Denise's hands were ice cold. Her phone rang again. No caller ID. She answered, barely breathing. Ethan? Silence. Then, he's already here. Denise's screen went black, and behind her the room got cold. The thing in the woods, Boone County, West Virginia. Deputy Mike Halloway had been patrolling the back roads near the Appalachian foothills when he got the call. A woman, frantic, claiming she saw something outside her house. It's not a person, she kept repeating. It's not human. Mike figured it was some drunk redneck screwing around in the woods. He rolled up to the old cabin, stepping out into the thick, humid night. The woman, Ellen Carter, was waiting on the porch, clutching a shotgun. I ain't crazy, she said before he even asked. It was just standing there, at the tree line, watching. Mike turned, shining his flashlight toward the woods. Nothing but blackness. The trees swayed gently in the wind. You sure it wasn't an animal? He asked. Ellen shook her head. It stood on 2 legs, tall, real tall, like 7, 8 feet, and its eyes... She shuddered. They weren't right. Mike sighed. All right, I'll check it out. Big fucking mistake. He walked about 50 feet into the trees, the dirt soft under his boots. It smelled like damp leaves and rot. The deeper he went, the quieter it got. Then he saw the footprints. Huge, not human. Clawed. Mike's pulse sped up. He raised his light and saw the eyes. 2 pinpricks of yellow, too high up, staring at him from between the trees. Then it moved. Fast. Too fast. Mike ran. Didn't think. Just ran. Ellen was screaming before he even reached the porch. He turned to look, and the fucking thing was standing at the edge of the woods, watching him. Tall, thin, its arms too long, head tilted, almost curious. Then, just like that, it stepped back into the dark. Gone. Mike never wrote a report. And Ellen? She packed her shit and left town the next day. 7. The Laughing Man, Boston, Massachusetts. Detective Aaron Calloway wasn't afraid of much, but the Laughing Man? He still haunted her dreams. It started with a 911 call from an old apartment complex. Woman screaming about a man in her building. Said he was just standing there laughing. Aaron and her partner, Jeff, arrived within minutes. The landlord, pale as hell, met them in the lobby. He's on the 3rd floor, he whispered. End of the hall. They took the stairs 2 at a time. The hallway was empty, quiet. Then, a chuckle. Low, wet, wrong. Erin's stomach twisted. She followed the sound to apartment 3C. The door was wide open. Inside, the lights flickered. The air was thick with the scent of mildew and something worse, something rotten. Then she saw him, a man standing in the middle of the room, thin, tall, wearing a dirty, tattered suit, and laughing, but his mouth, Jesus Christ. His mouth was too wide, like someone had cut it open at the sides. His lips stretched unnaturally far, his teeth jagged and black. He didn't blink, didn't move, just stared at her, and laughed. Erin's fingers tightened on her gun. Sir, put your hands where I can see them. The man grinned wider. The lights went out. The laughter didn't stop. Jeff's flashlight clicked on. The room was empty. No sign of the man. Just the smell of rot. And on the wall, written in something dark and wet, See you soon, Erin. They never found him. But Erin? She still hears the laughing sometimes. 8. The shadow passenger, Dallas, Texas. Officer Ben Ramirez had given plenty of people rides in his squad car, but never a ghost. It was just past 4 a.m. when he spotted the guy walking along the highway. Young, early 20s, wearing an old hoodie and jeans. No bag, no phone in sight. Ben pulled over. You all right, man? The guy nodded. Just need a ride. Something about him felt off, but Ben figured he was just some unlucky kid who got stranded. Hop in. The guy slid into the back seat, said his name was Danny. They drove in silence for a while. Then Ben's radio crackled. Unit 12, be advised. Static. Then a whisper. You shouldn't have picked him up. Ben frowned. Dispatch. Repeat that? Silence. He glanced at the mirror, and his blood ran cold. Danny was gone. The back seat, empty. Ben slammed on the brakes, heart pounding. He turned around, breathing hard. Nothing. Then his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hand shaking, he answered. Hello? Breathing. Then, thanks for the ride. The call cut out. Ben didn't sleep for a week after that.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.